Hello, hello, listeners. This is your host, Savannah Rose Johnson. Welcome to the Eclipse Evolution podcast. I'm so excited, so excited. You have no idea to have our guest today, Mark. He's a dear friend of mine. We go way back, all the way to
Woo!
college days. We both made it out alive.
Right.
And today we're celebrating him, his accomplishments, his journey, and his new album, Phase 2, which, if y'all haven't streamed it yet, I'm going to drop the links in the description because you need to. Okay, this is a beautiful album. We're going to get all in it as far as the songs, the just how it spreads over a multitude of genres, the depth as far as the meaning is concerned, everything. I am nosy and I want to know personally. Also, this guy is just such an incredible performer, so talented, and people need to know about him. Period.
Oh,
So,
thank you so much. I
yes,
appreciate
of course.
I'm
So, Mark,
so
please
happy to be here.
introduce
Like you
yourself.
don't
Yes.
understand.
Yes, but I would love for you to just introduce yourself to our viewers slash listeners today, just to give the people a little snapshot of who you are.
Sure. So I'm Marc L. I go by Marc L. I'm a singer-songwriter, producer. I produce my own music. I'm an independent artist right now. I'm not signed. Um, I've actually released two albums this year, Phase 1 and Phase 2. Um, let's see. I just signed to a modeling agency back in March, John Casablancas, which is a non-exclusive talent agency. So I've been modeling for about roughly 4 or 5 months as well. Just got into that. Just received my bachelor's of science in accounting from Oglethorpe University. Go
Yes,
Petrels!
let's go, Petros.
Yeah. And so yeah, so I just released Phase 2. And it's for me, it's very important to get to those questions answered, because there are, I mean, I'm sure there are a couple of people who have had questions or whatnot, but I know personally it's important for me to share my story, and you know have that explanation available for everybody, because I did take a lot of time and energy putting into this, and so I want the story to be recognized and for the story to be heard.
Absolutely. 100%. And so why don't we start there? Please tell me, I would love to know, well, I have like a list. Okay, so I'm trying to think
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah,
myself.
yeah.
So let's start with just what led you to creating this album and timing wise.
Oh yeah, no, we're good, we're good.
Yes, you're good. But I was just asking what led you to just creating this album, like timing wise. Like, I would love to know just kind of the process and how it came to be.
Well, I really wasn't exactly sure if there was going to be a Phase 2 at first. Um, but after I created Phase 1, I feel like I kind of got like a little spark
Mhm.
in creativity. And I wrote 143, which was the single to this
Mhm.
album. And so I wrote the first part first. So it was just 143 at first. And then the second part came when the album released. So
Mm,
then it became 143 slash say it. Then it became two songs into one.
gotcha.
Um, so basically, once I created 143, I was like, okay, right now I only have one full album, kind of, and it was only like 7 songs on it, right? And it was pretty much Phase 1 was like a live acoustic type of album, right? Like a live Tiny Desk kind of album. But I wanted to not only create more, but I wanted to show my versatility in my
Mhm.
artistry, right? So I created Phase 2, which is almost completely different from Phase
Mhm.
1. It's got a bunch of different genres in it,
Mhm.
which basically like I feel like it is a very good representation of who I am as an artist because I listen to all types of music. I dabble in all types of music. Like I'm just an artist in general,
Yeah.
and so I really felt like Phase Two was gonna be that album to just showcase like, yeah, he can do this, but he can also do this, and this.
Mhm.
Um, and also like it was a very therapeutic album to
Yeah.
create. Writing and creating Phase Two was the most painful experience that I've had with writing,
Yeah.
because it forced me to be honest with myself about a lot of things that I may not have really wanted to talk about or address. Just kind of, you know, throw it under the rug and not talk about it. But
Mhm.
it made me realize how important it was, and it was just like,
Mhm.
wow, like you really are a strong individual because you're dealing with these things. You have been dealing with these things your whole life, and here it is. Like, and I felt like the
Mhm.
album kind of forced me to look at those things, which also led to my healing eventually.
Yeah.
And then so first Phase Two was only going to be 7 songs, just like Phase One. But then I just kept writing and writing and writing, and I couldn't
Mhm.
stop. It was so crazy. It was almost
Well,
like,
thank goodness for that. Yes.
yeah, like I don't know. And it was just like I had 9 songs, and I'm like, I listened to all 9 songs together, and I'm like, nope, it's not done yet.
Mhm.
So it probably took me like 3 months to write. I remember taking 2 weeks off of work literally just to write this album. Because I was so, because this is my first full album. Like it has
Yeah.
13 songs on it, and I wrote every single song by myself.
Mm.
So it was just like for me, it was important for me not to only get it out because
Mhm.
once I realized that it was a lot of things that I needed to address within within writing those songs, like
Yeah.
um it really pushed me. Like I really wanted to just write more and just get a full project out. And so yeah, so once I released it, it felt amazing. I felt
Mhm.
healed. I felt rejuvenated, and I felt like I really really accomplished something.
Yeah.
um
You did.
so
It's a masterpiece.
yeah, thank you.
Yes. Wow. Yeah, I thank goodness that you expanded upon it because I feel like the flow of each track to track, it it did exactly what you said. Like it told a story. I could feel like I was going along with you in your process, whether it was like heartache to a story of self-worth to letting go to grief to really owning I feel like who you are as an individual. It touched upon a huge spectrum of themes, and then like you said, the genres. Like I know when which one is it? Yes, when Haven't Seen You came on, that's like a surf rock person as well. And then when that song came on, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, he really did every genre on this album." That was what threw me for, like, the best loop because it just showed me so much, like, your versatility as far as, like, he can really sing to any kind of tune and rap too. I was like, "Wow."
Yeah,
So,
and
I'm here for it.
believe it or not, I just started rapping like 8 months ago. It hasn't even been like a whole year. And
Mhm.
like I said, like it was this project was just something like I didn't even know that I could do, certain things. Like it was a great experience. It really
Mm.
was.
I can tell. It's beautiful, and I feel like so many people can relate to something, if not multiple themes within the album as well. Like there's so many layers to it, and I feel like it's like the perfect album to listen to if you wanna go through a breakup, and I say that because it's
Yeah,
not just like, "Oh, I'm heartbroken," etcetera. It's also just, like, I feel like it's such a healthy album to listen to during a breakup because it's like you missed out on me. Like, I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's so good and so rich, and it's not just like, oh, well, it's me, I'm heartbroken. I mean, there's definitely parts of that in there because that's real.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's also a representation of like I said, like what I go through, like in just life in general. Life is an emotional roller coaster, and I feel like Phase Two is definitely an emotional roller coaster. Like, yeah, just like
Yes, but in the best way. In the
in
best
the
way.
best
Yeah,
way.
absolutely. Yes. Well, I there's one question. This is kind of specific, but with your song, I'll pop it up on the screen. Your song, "On My Own." I
Uh-huh.
was wondering the sound bite in the beginning of that. Is that your mom?
So that is my grandmother. That
Your
is my mom's
grandmother.
mom.
Oh.
And she based her father actually wrote the song "Have You Seen Her?" Have you
Wow.
seen her? Tell me, have you seen her
Yes.
father? She's his first child.
Mhm.
Um, and so I never got to. I met him when I was probably about 7 years old. Um, at my aunt's wedding, and back then I wasn't nearly as tapped in to my music gift like as I am now.
Mhm.
Um, but had I been like, I probably would have been a whole nother person. Like I would be famous right now. Like, because like my grandpa, I mean, my grandma, they grew up with Michael Jackson. Like they used to hang out with them. Like Prince, like all the greats, like the Shy
Mhm.
Lights, they were a huge, huge deal in the music industry back then. Even Beyonce's Crazy in Love,
Yeah.
that's a Shy Light sample.
Wow. Look at you.
And
It's in your blood.
yeah, and mind you, I'm just finding this out. Like I was coming to the realization of how big that was. Like
Mm.
maybe like in my late
Yes.
teens, maybe 16, 17. I'm like, dang, like, whoa. But yeah, she basically just is like, if he was still here, like he would have definitely supported you. And so On My Own is a very important song in the album because it's basically saying like, I did this by myself. Like my grandpa was not here to help me write any of these songs, to help guide me in any direction. Like, no, I did it by myself. I did it on my own. That's what the song is talking about.
Mm. Wow. Oh, I'm so glad that you shared that story because I have been every time I hear her voice, I'm like, I wonder, like, I wanna know who that is. So that's
Yeah.
cool. That is so how personal and meaningful.
Yeah. So I gave her a prompt and I was like, so describe me in 3 words. And then she's like,
Mhm.
intelligent, talented, trendsetter. Like that's what
Mhm.
she's talking about. She's describing me, and then she's
Mm.
like, if your grandpa were still alive, like he would have definitely supported you, and he would have been
Mm.
so proud of you. That's what she
Wow.
says. Yeah.
That hits different now that I know the story too.
Yeah.
Like, that is unbelievable, and you talk a lot in your album about, like, manifestation as well. I mean, you say he's not here supporting you, but I feel like he's somewhere.
Oh yeah. Definitely, definitely. Oh yeah, for sure, for
Mhm.
sure.
That's
But not in the
beautiful.
physical.
Right.
Because, like, I know people are going to be like, well, the only reason you're famous is because of your grandpa. And it's just
Right.
like, no, like, they didn't even know that that was my grandpa until now. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Wow. Well, I think, like, to your point, exactly, like, it's on your own, like, it really shows, like, your skills, your talent, and, like, yes, you definitely get some beautiful genetics thrown in there too, but it's what you do with it, I think that
Yeah.
really shows, like, who you are and, like, how, like, you not only have this, I would say, predisposition, like, to have this gift, but also to, like, a lot of people sit on their gifts, and
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned, like, you really have realized what you have and are,
Yeah.
like, doing something with it. It's huge.
Yeah. Well, I thank you. I really appreciate it. Also, just another thing to throw in there,
Yes.
like, On My Own is also like, it shows like it's the root of all of my basically like the only reason like I wanted to feel, that was the void that I wanted to fill. And I feel like second best to that was a relationship,
Mm,
you know? And so it's like, yeah, I'm Casanova now because I got my heart broken.
yeah.
But the reason I'm even talking about any of this is because I want to pursue my music career,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I feel like it's that vulnerability of just the full spectrum of like this human experience that we're in, right? Like, I feel like you really shine light upon so many different areas that are important.
Yeah, and I feel like I did it also like without even really realizing it. Like I just completely let it all out in this album, and
Mhm.
I'm very proud of it. I can
Yes,
say.
I'm glad. You should. Yes. So tell me, is this like one of the first times you've sat down and like really been able to discuss your album? You mentioned that a little bit when we were in the green room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So since the release, this is the first podcast that I've been on. I'm gonna be on a couple more pretty soon. But yeah, this is my first one. So yeah, I haven't been able to really sit down and discuss the album with anybody. So like I was super excited about all this. Like I've written it out, like every song, like what it means and all that. Like I was prepared for this, but I didn't know when I was gonna be on a podcast.
Yeah.
Um, post the album release, but I was ready for it. I've been ready for this. So
Mhm. Yeah, and you're so deserving, Mark. I mean, truly, it's an honor to be like your first podcast because I mean, there's no question. Like, I have a tingly spider sensation that like you're going places with this album, and I mean, I think it's a long time coming. Just like from just as long as I've known you, I mean, this is something I know you've been passionate about. So it's been really cool to just
yeah.
witness your journey and like see you grow. And this album, like I mean, I'm not joking when I say it's a masterpiece. I really feel like this is some like you're sitting on a gold mine with it.
Thank you. And likewise, like this is amazing. Like I remember like in core class, like how outspoken you were and how like intelligent and just like articulate you were. And I was like, I wonder what she's gonna do like when we finish
Who
school
knows?
because she's so cool. I love her. Like, who is this girl? I love her. She's amazing. And then boom, you come out with a podcast, and I was like, duh, like that's perfect. This is so
Thank you.
cool. Like this is so cool.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I think that class is something for sure. That was like I feel like that was both like I mean, I related to you then, like as I do now, where it's like I feel like you and I were both just kind of like really coming into being ourselves at that
Yeah.
time. Mhm.
And I'm starting to understand the purpose of it now. The
Mhm.
purpose of core because
Yeah.
of things like this. But like, of course back then we hated it. It was like, why are we doing this?
Maybe.
But yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, that kind of retrospect. Well, I have to tell you as well. So I gotta let's see. I put it up here in my bubbles. Bam. Okay, so vulnerable. This song, I'm so glad you picked it as your kind of introduction to the
Uh-huh.
album because I mean, if there's, I mean, it's hard to put this album in summary of one word, but I mean, I feel like it is a very vulnerable work of art, as in it's there's no bullshit. I mean, just to be
Yeah.
about it, like it's just every single thing you can tell it's so real and raw, which I am obsessed with. But this song is it gets me like I feel like once I kick off the album with this song, I'm like, okay, I need to light some candles. I need to like take some for myself and like get like some like a little rosé or something because I feel like I need to be in a speakeasy just in the shadows, just
I
like
love that.
yes.
I really, really love that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was the initially that song was gonna be a cappella, but then life happened, and I was like, no, I want this to be an intro. Like, I want this to be. I wanted it to have that effect, so I'm really glad that that's the effect that it
You
had.
nailed it. You nailed it. Yes. Yes. No, your album is like my go-to, like, I'm taking time to myself album. And it's like just remembering like who I am and like feeling my feelings in a way that feels like safe and like worthwhile is the word that comes to my mind. Cause it's like you really can see the progress throughout the album of like, this wasn't for nothing. Like you gained something from everything as the story tells.
I absolutely did, and I really thank you for noticing that. Like, prior to us talking, and just letting me know that, because people probably have, but like I said, I haven't talked to anyone about it, so it's like I'm over here like, is it okay, like, do you guys really
Yeah,
like it? So you're giving me a lot of good gems here, so I appreciate that.
of course. Yeah, I'm curious, like what's going through like your mind right now, just being able to, I mean, I feel like we're really processing your album together in some ways. Like, how does that feel right now?
If it's very I feel a big release from it. Like, it's almost like the one that I felt when I released the album, but it's different because I'm actually talking about what I was talking about. So,
Mhm,
in a way, this is my first time saying everything like kind of out loud,
mhm,
which is
yeah.
a completely different experience, as you probably can imagine. So,
Mm, I'm honored. I appreciate the trust. I mean, I appreciate the trust. This is your musical baby, and like, thank you for
yeah.
just like letting me share it with my audience and like hold it in this space because I mean, it deserves to have this attention and acknowledgement. Like, I see you, and it's
Yeah, and I
beautiful.
appreciate that. And I feel like Core kind of helped with that, like, because I feel like this is
Yes.
some stuff that we would talk about, like,
Mhm.
in a core class.
You're so right. All this deep philosophy. Yes, you're so right. Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, so vulnerable, yes. So that's like my speakeasy. I'm like feeling a little saucy, like let's get into it kind of vibe. And then moving into the 143 say it. Okay, first of all, I feel like this is an anthem on like self-worth. That's how I perceive it.
Okay.
That's how
I
I,
love that.
yeah, because it's like
Yeah,
I've heard it
basically, yeah.
before. What do you bring into the table?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So yeah, so the 143 part, it's like, coming from vulnerable, it's like I'm vulnerable, so it's easy for me to be in someone else's space and energy and feel like, oh my gosh, I love them.
Mhm.
I love them so much. Like, I don't ever want you to leave me. And then and say it, you realize, oh shit, like, I thought I was in love with you, but you're really an asshole, and like,
We've
you're a
all had those
jerk,
moments. Yeah.
and yeah, like, all these types of things. But it's like, it's because I didn't take that time to get to know you, and
Yeah.
that's what I went through a lot, like, in
Mhm.
my relationships. Like, I'm hang out with them the first time, I
Mhm.
get one moment where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is everything. And it's like, I'll hold on to that one moment and ignore everything else until it gets to a point where I can't ignore it. Like, it's just right in front of me. And it's like, what the heck? This has been here the whole time. Like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
so it's like 143 is like, I was in love. And then say it's like, I'm not in love anymore,
Mm.
basically.
Yeah. Oh, I feel it. Yeah, and I mean, that's so honest because I mean, I feel slightly called out right now because 'cause I'm like, "Have you been analyzing my life?" But, it'd be like, "It's just how it is." Yes. That's so
That's
good though.
great.
Mhm.
That's
Okay,
really
and so tell me the gal who does her verse on that song too. So is it pronounced
Yeah,
Seven?
Seven. Her name is Seven. Shout out to Seven. She
Yeah.
actually just really her birthday was yesterday,
Oh
or
shoot,
the
happy
day before
birthday.
yesterday. Yeah, and she just
Oh.
released like a single. She's an amazing rapper. She's super talented, super gorgeous. Um, so I wasn't actually gonna make create Say It until I met her, right? It was
Mhm.
the most random thing ever. Cause like I said, I had just created 143 as a single.
Yeah.
And she actually was kind of the catalyst for the
Mm.
remainder of the album. Cause when I met her, and I actually met her at a video shoot, at
That's
someone
cool.
else's video shoot. Um,
That's so funny.
yeah, and then she was, of course, it's a bunch of artists there, and we get to networking and things of that nature. And I heard her rap, and I was like,
Mm.
I would love to work with you, but I don't know on what yet.
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, simultaneously, I was listening to the Say It track separately because when I create, I'm kind of all over the place. Like I can start writing a song one day and get back, or I can start writing it the one day and finish it the same day. It just really depends on where my head is.
Yeah.
And so when I met her, I was listening to the Say It track around the time I met her. And so after the video shoot, I was like, I don't know what we're gonna work on together, but we're gonna work on something.
Yeah.
And so I went home and listened to that, and I was like, that's it. So I sent her the track, and
Mhm.
literally within a day, she had that.
No way.
And we created the whole 143 Say It song, and then boom, I was like, okay, okay, I'm ready to create a full 13 song album. Like,
Wow.
yeah. So she was the catalyst to all of that. So
Wow.
shout out to Seven. I don't even know if I've told her that, so she's probably gonna browse and she's
Well, she'll know now. Yes.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, shout out to Seven. So yeah, she's super
Wow.
talented.
That's amazing. What a gift. I mean, I love like those kind of just synchronicities, right? Like that kind of stuff that just feels like divine.
Oh yeah, definitely. It definitely was. Cause like I said, it was the most random thing ever. Like I met her at a video shoot and I was like, oh, you're pretty. I was like, what do you do? And she's like, oh, I'm a rapper. And then she let me hear something and I was like, you got to be on one of my tracks. I don't know which one it's going to be, but. And she was just
Oh,
so willing. So I just really appreciate her for that.
yeah. Oh, I just love that collaboration. Yeah, like I love her verse in that song. I feel like it's just such a nice touch, and I'm so glad that like y'all connected because that helped feed some more tracks to us from your album. So
Yeah,
it's a win for everyone.
absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah,
That is
that was really cool. That was super cool.
I love that. Yeah, just like that kind of like stars aligned kind of thing. I just that's how you know it's meant to be, right? Like that's
Right.
so
Yeah.
perfect.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
she's been super supportive like ever since. Like she
Yeah.
always posts my stuff. Like she's just great. I love her. She's
Mhm.
great.
Mhm. That's so special. I love that. And so now we gotta talk about it. Your song "Codependent." Why are you spying on me, Mark? Because you know how I felt so called out, but I was like, but I loved it. I thought it was just because, as you know, I mean, that's kind of like how we connected to do this podcast is like me sharing my codependent recovery story. And so I'm glad that that resonated with you. And then like it just kind of dawned on me like, oh yeah, like you have a whole song about this. Like, um, so I mean, just personally, I appreciate that song because I feel like it's again, like it's not something that like I mean, I'm grateful for my recovery, yes, but when we're in the thick of that kind of addiction with someone, it is hard.
Yeah, exactly. And that is actually I think that's my favorite song. My personal favorite song. I love that song. Because yeah, like that's real shit. Like you can really be hooked on someone like a drug. And it's like thank God you're, self-aware, self-conscious enough to realize like, oh, like this person probably isn't, the best for me. Or not even just that. Like when you're in a relationship with someone, you have to bring your own self to the table. Like you can't just like, be codependent on someone else for your own happiness. Like, and when I realized that, it was like, oh, like, okay, this is why my relationships aren't working out, or this is why my relationships aren't healthy because of the intention behind it.
Right.
So
Mhm.
yeah, that's pretty cool that you like that. I didn't know that.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like it's something that, well, I guess like a something I've noticed like as I've been in my recovery process, like is how much codependency is glamorized in a lot of media, just as far as like just unhealthy relationships. Like for example, like the new HBO series The Idol with The Weeknd and Lily Rose Depp. Like, don't get me wrong, I I love them both. Like I love The Weeknd, I love Lily Rose Depp, but that show like kind of messed me up in some ways because it is like codependency is romanticized, glamorized, even like celebrated. So it was refreshing to hear your song be like, no, this is like it ain't cute. This is
No,
really
it's
what it's about.
not.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, yeah, because that's true. It's not. It's really not cute. Like, and that really, it made me like really like just like really analyze like or just like shift my whole perspective on what I feel like a relationship is supposed to be. Like any kind of relationship, really, because like you have friends like that
Oh
too,
yeah.
where it's like, oh my god, this is my best friend. Like I can't do anything without her or without
Mhm.
him. Like you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and that in itself could be unhealthy for a person.
Yeah,
So it's different kinds of things. So
for sure.
that's cool. I
Mhm.
didn't know that.
Yes. So you said that was like your favorite song?
I think that's my personal favorite. Like if I'm in the car, I'll just turn that on. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. That is a good riding around song, and it's like, I mean, we gotta talk about it. The sexy song. I mean, that's a song that we again want to dim the lights, and like I'm glad you threw that in there too, because I mean, it's where I do feel like it's like an album, like, this overall anthem of like honoring yourself. Like we are a little saucy every now and again. Like that's part
Yeah.
of it too.
And
So
if you haven't really noticed, like the whole album is like a conversation.
yeah.
So it's like the first song is talking about this, second song is a response to that, the third song
Mhm.
is a response to that, the fourth song is a response to that. Like it's a whole conversation. And it's like it's a conversation that I'm having with myself because I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been the player and I've been the playee,
Mhm.
and towards the end of the album you get to the root of where all of that stems from, I
Mhm.
think.
Mhm.
Yes.
Absolutely. Oh, I appreciate that because I mean, you're so right. Like none of us are like I guess I hate to use the word blameless, but we've all made mistakes in relationships,
Yeah.
like guilty, So it's
Yeah.
just part of how we learn.
Yeah. And I just also feel like even with the being on the player side, like there's a root to that.
Yeah.
Like you can become people most of the time players become players because
Yeah.
they've been brokenhearted, or it's like they want to put up a facade, because to show that they to make it seem like they don't care, but they actually really care, like too much about certain things. And I've been that person too. So it's just like I wanted to show both sides of the fence, like because I think ultimately like that's where I was personally. And like in order to really get to the root of things, like you have to look at all the perspectives.
You're right. Yeah. No, you're so right. I mean, as they say, like, hurt people hurt people. I know when I've been like not my best self in relationships, it's been like me trying to get my power back. And so
Yeah,
I'm not
like
healed.
exactly. And it's like you realize you can be doing that in the wrong way.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, ugh, let's see.
We see each other. Yes, but I mean, like you said, it's like that self-awareness piece. It's like sometimes you just gotta wake up and smell the bacon and be like, "Oof, this is not how I wanna show up in the world." Like, I gotta heal.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And I think like this album also like really made me more comfortable with being by myself because I was by myself a lot,
Mhm.
a creative process. And just me as a person, like normally I need other people
Mhm.
around or feel like I need other people around. But for the first time in my life, like I've been comfortable with being by myself, which
Mhm.
at first I thought was weird.
Mm.
I'm like, do I need to go to therapy or something? Well, everyone needs therapy, but
True.
like, I was just like, is there something wrong with me? But it's like, no, like, I'm growing, I'm maturing, and I realized a lot of things.
Yeah.
And, it's more than okay. You should like to be by yourself because if you don't like being by yourself, nobody is going to want to be around you. So,
Yeah.
you have to be okay first. Like, you have to be okay
Mhm.
first.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
1000%. Yeah. I mean, it's like what RuPaul, he's always like, if you can't love yourself, how the hell you expect anybody else to love you? I'm like,
Like
that's a straight up fact. Yeah.
basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. And then also too, like if we don't like to be by ourselves, sometimes I know I'm speaking for myself here, like we'll accept not so good company just because it's maybe at that time better
Because it's
than being by
company, yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah, too real. That's just part of the process. And I have to say too, I'm just looking at my notes so I don't forget anything. So I can definitely tell like a shift and kind of towards like the tail end of your album, kind of like how you're describing, like it kind of just gets like more to that origin of how,
Yeah.
like that song or your song, I should say, like Level Up. I feel like that song is, it speaks to me right now for sure.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yes, it's so well, all of the songs speak to me in their own way, but, like, that song definitely, like, I appreciate, like it sounds like you really have taken those lessons that you've learned in the other tracks that you've mentioned and be like, "Okay, this is what I'm doing with it now."
Yeah, like, and that's exactly right. Like, level up is basically just like, in response to haven't seen you, like, you haven't seen me around because I've been on my grind. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've
Mhm,
been bettering myself and,
mhm,
doing what makes me happy and just being happy, by myself. This level up doesn't talk about relationships or anything like that. It's just
mhm,
like, this is where I'm at right now. And I'm elevating, and I'm
mhm.
only elevating because I
Period.
addressed those things that I needed to address in order for me to elevate. Because if you don't address those certain toxic things, like it can really hold you down. I noticed that too, like
Sure.
in all aspects of your life. So,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I 1000% agree and see that for sure. And I'm really glad that like you've been able to just give that to yourself because I mean, it's not always easy. That's for
mm-mm.
sure.
Yeah, definitely not always easy.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. And so tell me when it comes down to, well, first, I'm getting ahead of myself again. So once we go from Level Up, I believe the next track is Out of My Head. I feel like that one, that's another song I feel like is just so honest. I feel like it almost like goes hand in hand with the codependent song in some ways because it's like, yeah,
yeah,
maybe I have done all this healing and stuff, but like I still have more healing to do. And I feel like that's so real.
exactly. And then if you notice at the end, you hear man talking, that's my dad.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's my dad. And the prompt that I gave him was I told him to describe what an unhealthy relationship looks like in his own words. And in the song, he says, the person makes you feel ashamed, guilty, like unworthy of yourself, when you didn't do anything wrong. Like they abuse you mentally, physically, emotionally. Like, so it's like, and if you see any of these things, like just run away. Like don't even entertain it. And but out of my complete opposite of that, it's like I know that this is an unhealthy relationship, but it's like
Mhm.
I'm still thinking about you. Like to be honest, I'm still thinking about you. Um, and it's like dad's like, no, I don't think you should do that. And another deep thing about that is I got my dad to speak on that because a lot of my relationships, the people that I choose, were synonymous to my relationship with my father, which is what they say, like, you know, the people you choose are a reflection of like your parents and things of that nature. So, like, that was also very healing for my dad to even speak on the album because, like, he notices that he plays a part in the people that I've chosen in my life, you know, which led to my heartbreaks and things of that nature. So it's like that was another deep thing on the
Mm.
album.
It's gonna get me in my feelings. That's I had no idea. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Mm, that's beautiful. I know. I what a gift. I mean, what a gift. That's like, oh, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it after this because like I need to like
Yeah.
hear it all again, like knowing this stuff because that's just so profound. I mean, that's so thoughtful that you one again have that self awareness. I mean, own it, acknowledge it, but then like to use it as an opportunity to heal a relationship that's kind of unexpected, like one with your dad. Like that's really really special.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. But yeah, like, and me and my dad, we have not always been like on the best of, you know, terms. And so like like for him to even want to speak on the album on something that he knows that he contributed to, like, that meant the world to me. So like if I never get an apology from my father, like an actual apology, for me that was all the apology that I needed personally. So
Mm, that's so, so special. Wow. That's so cathartic. Mm. Oh, I love that. Yeah, and I feel like it makes sense too, like knowing that even more, like it makes sense like why Hurts is like the last track. Cause I mean
yeah.
that song blows me away every time I hear it. I gotta have like the tissues next to me because I'm just like, you're so right. Like it's so good. It's so and I feel like again, it's like the perfect healthy breakup song because it's like, yes, I'm sad. Yes, like I'll miss you. Like, yes, everything like love was there, but it's also like, but I love myself more. And that's why I
Yeah.
couldn't be in this relationship. And that's where I'm like, oh my God.
Right. Basically, yeah. And it's just like I think in a lot of relationships I've been the one to leave, even though but I would be the most heartbroken.
Yeah.
And it would be because, like, you know, I would want to stay in that, but it's like my heart and my spirit knows, like, no, like, this is not healthy for you. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, and it's just so crazy because, like, I feel like I've been dumped like a million times, but I'm the person who always dumps the other person because of how unhealthy the relationship is.
Yeah.
And that's how it always is. Like, and it's just like, yeah, like, loving you hurts, like, and it's because, like, I'm putting you before myself, which is like impossible for a healthy relationship to flourish out of that, because it's
Right.
like both people have to be. In the song I say, I can't provide if my tank is on empty. And that's like a huge thing, like, not just with romantic relationships but with friendships, everything, it can't be one-sided,
Right.
you know. So that's what it talks about.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I hear you. I mean, it's a song that I just think it is such a strong song by itself, but I think the having that be the closer and then it just like for me, I on my Spotify, I just like have it to where like it'll just loop the album. So it'll just go right back into the album. So
Oh.
I'm just like, okay, here we go again. I'm about to just like start the waterworks all over. So it's so good. But yeah, I mean, I've just really it's such a gift how you share yourself in your work. I mean, I feel like that's such a huge contribution to the listeners because like I feel like people don't have to feel alone in what they're going through no matter what stage of life or the process. It's like there's something again that you can relate to in every single song. And I just feel like with Hertz being the final track, it's so you can tell that this project was something that like you did for yourself, which I think again like you should be super proud of because it's I use the word masterpiece because that's what it is. Like, it's
Thank you so
so
much. Like I
beautiful.
really, really appreciate that. Like seriously.
Mhm.
It was yeah, like I said, after I created it, like I just felt yeah, like I felt like it was a masterpiece. And you know, I've gotten of course I've gotten like some critics on it because I don't know if you know knew this either, but I recorded the whole thing in my car on my headphone.
Shut the front door, no. What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's so cool. I love it.
Yeah, so like you know because like I said I'm not signed or anything, and you know with being an independent artist like you have to do everything on your own like by yourself, and it's like yeah like I feel I know that this project like is going to help open doors for me because it's a full project, and then not only that like I feel like the greats, the people um who need to hear it in order to take it to the next level are really going to appreciate the fact that I did it on my headphones in a car.
Yeah.
So,
That's wild. That's so lo-fi. I'm here for it. That's so cool.
yeah. So, no studio, barely any edits really either. It's like I use an app called Band Lab. Shout out to Band Lab.
Mhm.
It's like a little studio app, and yeah, I just was in the car, my headphones, like
Wow.
yeah.
That is amazing. Because I mean, again, that shows, I think, real talent, like, just, like, divine gifts that you have, like, because it's again, like, we can sit on a talent all day is what you do with it, and, like, making the most of, like, your resources to and not letting anything be an excuse either. I think I see that a lot, like, with musical artists specifically, where they're like, "Well, I have to spend $5,000 on this crazy microphone or this
I
crazy
had
thing."
$0. Like $0.
Wow.
Nothing, $0. Like
Wow.
that's all that I had. And I was like, okay, I have to make this work somehow because it was
Yeah.
driving me crazy. Those years that I was at Oglethorpe, it was driving me crazy that I'm an artist and I don't have any music out. Like it was really bothering me because I've been writing since I was 11 years old.
Mm.
Like so it's just like I need to get this music out somehow.
Yeah.
So I had to figure it out.
You do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Mhm. I hear you, yeah, I mean, that's I relate to that, like, with my first book, it was like, I wanted to be an author so bad, I'm like, "No one's gonna make me do this, like, no one's gonna make me write this
Yeah,
for
right,
me."
right. And then when you realize that, it's a whole nother reality. It's like,
"Okay,
yeah,
I guess I gotta do."
right.
But
Yep.
that's beautiful, I mean, but that's such a gift, I mean, because it really I think, again, it speaks a lot to your self-worth of, like, this is something that you wanted to do, you deserve like, you knew you deserved to tell your story, you knew that this art takes up like, deserves to take up space in the world, and so you're like, "Okay, whatever I gotta do to make it happen, I'm gonna make it happen," like, the no wasn't an
Yeah.
answer, and I think that shows a lot with like just your perseverance and like your commitment to your project and yourself. I think that's huge. In the makings of a great artist, really.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. That was great. Ugh. Oh, I really need this. I feel like I just let go so much.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Seriously. Ah,
Yes,
I
yes,
feel so much better.
I see you, and I was so just, like, grateful that you connected with me and just had interest in being my guest, like, I really I just I was so looking forward to our conversation today, and, I mean, and after, like, really just, like, sinking into your music, I'm like, well, first, I got all these burning questions I need answered, first of all. But second, it's just, I could tell like this is something special and I just want to celebrate it.
Oh, I appreciate that so so much. That means everything to me, seriously. And yeah, like what better person to share it with? Like, you know what I mean? You had the podcast, like, you know, you dive in deep. You were doing research before I even got on here. Like, so I appreciate all of that. Like, so yeah, I think you're the perfect person for me to, you know, share this with. So I really, really appreciate you for this. Like, this meant everything. Seriously. Like, and this, you're gonna look back on this and be like, oh my gosh, like, He was on my
Yeah, I know it. I know it. We're manifesting it. You and me, we're manifesting it. Yes.
So yeah, I really really appreciate that. Seriously, this meant everything. And yeah, like I said, it's on all platforms right now. YouTube, whatever. Um, yeah.
Hmm. Well, before we wrap up, I just want to, I feel like I was like kind of bossy in our episode today. I was like just drilling you with questions. Is there anything that you just want to share about your work? I want to hear it from you. Like any like sentiments or parts of your anything. The floor is yours. I just wanted to hear more from you, just like organically what comes from you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think my album Phase One was kind of like a different side of myself.
Hmm.
Um, but then, or not even a different, I think Phase One was a little surface level. And then Phase Two just kind of went in depth. Um, but they definitely like coincide for
Yeah.
sure. Which hence why it's, Phase One and Phase Two. Like you get deeper when you go to the second level, I think. Um, and so yeah, I think those two albums for me, that, and I, like I said, I just released both of those this year. So altogether, that's 21 songs in 3 months. I
Dang.
was writing like
I'll
a lot.
say. It's like not even September yet. And I'm like, 2 albums? What?
So
Yes.
yeah, like I released that one in March, and then I released Phase Two in July. So 4 months. In 4 months, I released two albums. I've never did anything like that before. So it's just been, this whole music thing has just been such an amazing journey, and I'm just so excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be moving to LA soon to,
Oh, fancy.
yeah, to pursue, my dreams and stuff like that. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty much it. I don't know if you know Chloe you know Chloe Bailey.
Yes. I feel like I
Chloe
remember her
Chloe and
name.
Hallie. Chloe and
Mhm.
Hallie, like, the Little Mermaid.
Yes.
Her
Okay, yes.
sister. Her sister's been like watching my page for like 3 or 4 months.
Mm.
And they're signed to Beyonce, so that's like one step closer to Beyonce.
Hey, we'll take it. Shoot. I'm
So
here
yes,
for it.
I'm like, I'm sure my name is being brought up in some rooms right now that I don't know about. So that's
Exactly.
also been very exciting.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, right now I'm just kind of playing a little bit. Because it's only been a month since the album has been out, and it feels like it's been forever, but it's only been a month, so I'm just giving it time to
Yeah.
kind of marinate. Um, but yeah, that's about it.
Mhm. Yes, well, I'm here to soak up everything as we marinate. Like that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, it really hasn't been that long of time, and I mean, plus we're in all these retrogrades right now, so there's a lot of stuff cooking up just in the universe. But I mean, I have full faith that like this album is just it's going to catapult you because it needs to take up more space in this world, and we have infinite space. There's infinite abundance. So get your slice, boo. Get your slice.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, I appreciate this so much, Savannah. You have
Cheers.
no idea how much this helped me out. Like on a
Oh,
spiritual level. Like I feel so much more motivated too.
it's
Um,
my pleasure. Thank you again. Like I just appreciate like the trust and for the time and for again just sharing yourself. And so for those of y'all who well, I'm not even going to say for those of y'all. All y'all need to look in the description and click on the link to stream his album. You will thank me later. And then also you can check out Mark on his Instagram at the official Marc L. So just stay up to date on more of his tracks as they come, as we know they will. At least they better.
oh yeah, for sure.
But thank you so much. And if there's anything I can do for you, you know where to find me, okay?
Okay, thank you so much, Savannah.
Of course, my pleasure. And thank you to everyone for tuning in, for listening, watching, and we will catch you next time. I'm your host, Savannah Rose Johnson, the official Marc L, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.